Welcome to another episode of the Assemble Performance Podcast. Today's podcast is a topic I'm very, very passionate about. It's the one trait all successful people have in common. This is something I have reflected on a lot in my life about, and there's been a lot of evolution. I'm just going to get into it, but this podcast episode is really going to be for you if you feel like you've gotten so much information. You have all the information on training, on behavior, success, but you still feel like your run times, your lifts, your fitness, and your life haven't improved in the ways you want them to. They aren't what you're looking for. You haven't gotten the results you've been looking for. I feel you. If this is you, I've been there before. And in some ways, I still iterate, and I'm still there in some different places of my life. This is what I've learned after being there for many years in different areas of my life, though, and speaking to a lot of very successful people that I used to and still do look up to. But some of those people I used to look up to, I'm now peers with them. And this is the trait that's gotten me to become more of a peer with them. I still look up to them. I still respect them. But just kind of giving you an idea of this trait really changed my life and has made all the difference in my life. So very excited to share it with you. Very excited to get into this and just kind of spill my thoughts on this topic. Now, I wanted to start this out with, what is the illusion of knowing more? That's what I'm calling it. A lot of people think that what we need to do to be successful is to learn the right information. Just one more piece of information will make all the difference. This is the underlying subconscious thought or belief when we're scrolling, when we're on YouTube looking for the next thing, just one more piece of information will make the difference. And for the beginning part of our lives, this is true. We have to spend time in school, in elementary school, middle school, high school, college, even if you're changing industries or not in an industry that went to college, maybe you need to learn new skills. Knowledge is the gap for the early part of our lives, because the more we can know, the more we can do. But this framework doesn't serve us for the rest of our lives. As we become adults and our decisions and life choices become more complex and have many different variables, just accumulating information does not cut it, doesn't get us what we're looking for. Without applying the information that we've learned, information is just going to become more mental clutter. Learning more information is just going to make you feel more overwhelmed and have more clutter in your brain. You probably understand this if you are kind of like I am, where you just tend to listen to a ton of podcasts, watch a ton of YouTube videos, do a ton of research, and take a long time to make a decision. That's not a bad thing, because impulsive decision making is not ideal for, it's not a trait that leads to a very, very good outcomes, right? Because then you spend your money, you do all these impulsive things without really taking time to evaluate what's important to you and what's important about these decisions. But where I came to in my life, and where a lot of people come to in their lives, is this analysis paralysis, where you're paralyzed by overanalyzing everything and you never take action because there's always I'm just missing something. There's one thing I'm missing. I need to learn one more piece of information and then I can take action, because then I'm going to know what I need to know. The problem is that becomes a cycle. You learn that one more thing and then you need to learn the next thing and the next thing. And it's always this cycle of, I just need that last piece of information before I make a decision. For me, I spent a long time evaluating if I wanted to work out again. So if you don't know my story, very, very long story short, I was very fit for a long period of my life. I got sick. And then after I got sick, I got very fit. And then I had a TBI, got a concussion while I was in the military, had to relearn how to walk again without my eyes open. So I had good balance until I closed my eyes. Not going to go into that, and I got pretty out of shape in that period of life because I couldn't really work out without becoming dizzy. And then I wanted to get back in shape again, and I knew how to program for things, but I was just kind of paralyzed by analyzing, what do I want to do? Do I want to run races? Do I want to lift weights? What do I want to do? Do I want to do this hybrid thing that I see online? I was paralyzed by overanalyzing. It wasn't until I started taking action that I started to see results and my path became more clear. And I'll talk about it in a little bit. Same thing with starting my business and coaching officially. It took me a long time. I thought about it for a while, but nothing really changed until I started taking action. And then I learned so much more. So you learn so much more by application, which we'll talk about. But that's what I meant when I said peers. I used to look up to some of these coaches online, and now I work with them. And the only difference was me starting to take action and learning in the process, and not just over analyzing and putting off the actions I knew I needed to take out of some fear that I didn't know enough. And the last personal story is my master's degree. I am going to get my master's degree. I've wanted to do it for years. I went back in my email. I've been emailing people about what they thought about a master's program for years and years and years. I knew I needed to take a few prerequisite classes because my undergrad is in a different field. So I finally decided, after I'd learned this in my business and in training, I said, I'm not going to contemplate anymore. I'm just going to start. And so I started my prerequisite classes, and taking action provides you so much clarity. So why? Why does action beat information? I just gave you 3 points in my life where I said, hey, taking action beat just getting more information, but why? Research shows that self-discipline and follow-through predicts academic success more than IQ or talent. So the students who study more perform better overall and get into better programs than students who study less, work less hard, and work less hard consistently, but have higher inbuilt IQ, higher talent. Now, again, individually, obviously, sometimes this isn't true. You have the person with a high IQ who never works hard and they still do really well. But overall, generally, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, right? That's the saying. So taking action in that front is important. Another one is that identity comes from actions, not thoughts or intentions. If you understand behavior change, you understand lasting behavior change comes from embodying that new identity, not just thinking about doing the thing. We form our self-image based on what we do, not what we think. If you run long enough, you're going to see yourself as a runner. If you lift long enough, you're going to see yourself as a lifter. That identity is going to create momentum for future action, and you're going to start taking action in line with who you believe you are. So for me, it took me a long time to start my coaching business. I felt like I knew a lot, but I also felt like I didn't, right? I felt like there was always more to learn. But as I've coached, helped people get really good results, I've built undeniable proof that I am a coach, and a damn good coach. No amount of no amount of imposter syndrome or lack of belief in my abilities can refute that real evidence of I am a coach. I get people good results. I coach people. Same thing if you run. If you run for a few months and you run consistently and your times get faster, you can't tell yourself you're not a runner. You run. If you run a race, that's even more irrefutable evidence that you know how to run. You are a runner, and that's just a part of your identity. Taking action reinforces those neural pathways in our brain and strengthen our behaviors. And like I just kind of touched on, action builds confidence through success, even the small wins. So when you take action, when you are in the trenches, you start to appreciate the little wins. So, okay, maybe last week I ran 2 times and this week I ran 2 times, but the second one was a little farther. Some people would say, oh, I set a goal to run 3 times this week. I didn't run 3 times this week. I failed. But maybe you ran overall farther this week than you did last week. That's a little win that you can celebrate. That starts to build momentum. You start to collect snow on that snowball rolling downhill. And as you collect more snow and it rolls downhill, eventually that snowball is a boulder and it can't be stopped. When we do fail taking action, in order to keep taking action, you have to learn how to fail well. A growth mindset is something that you either have to have or have to develop through taking action. This fact that, hey, I failed right now, I messed up right now, but I am going to learn from this failure and I'm not going to make this failure again. I've done so many of those things. Look at my old podcast or old videos. They weren't great. If you scroll back to when I first started posting on Instagram, I cringe. I will probably look back in a year or 2 years at even the production quality of these podcasts and cringe and say, oh my gosh, that was so horrible. I can't believe I did that, because I'll learn in the process of taking action. We're going to mess up. We're not going to be perfect. and we will have a lot of room for improvement. But the only way to make those improvements and learn those things is to fail and take action. Another facet of psychology and behavior change is that action creates motivation, not the other way around. So in behavioral psychology, it's understood that acting is the thing that sparks the brain chemicals, the dopamine, and the things that create motivation and momentum. So you probably notice this if you don't want to go to the gym, then you go to the gym, and then you're more motivated after you went to the gym. Like, man, I really did that. I'm so excited to do that again. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. So when you are uncertain about what you're doing, the antidote is taking action. So that's the success trait that I have identified, is taking aggressive action. I used to think it was knowledge, and then I realized more knowledge is doing me no good, but making me really good at trivia and kind of overwhelmed because I know all this stuff, but I haven't done anything. Really successful people take action no matter what, because they learn through taking action. So these studies in education and psychology, they point to the same thing, that we learn the best when our application or when our information is applied. We learn the best when we do. Active learning, so learning while you're doing something, leads to deeper understanding and better retention of the knowledge that you've learned than just sitting around and consuming information. On a small micro scale, you see this in schools where they'll teach the kids a lesson and then they'll have them apply it. My wife is a elementary school teacher. They do this even with small concepts like learning your letters, your numbers, right? But then on bigger concepts when it comes to more adult things like career changes or starting a fitness journey, signing up for races, you're not going to know what it's like to fuel a ultramarathon until you run one. Yes, you might intellectually say, oh, I need this many grams of carbs per hour and I need that. But then when you go run the thing, you're going to realize, oh, this many grams of carbs that's calculated per hour doesn't sit well with me in this form. I need another form. There's no way to know that unless you take action. Same thing with coaching. On paper, I can understand exactly how to coach the client. But real life is rarely what it looks like on paper. And so it's not until you do all the right things and the client still is having a hard time that you have to learn, that I have to learn and become a better coach because of it. Taking aggressive action is a non-negotiable trait across high performers. It's the fastest way to learn, to create results and momentum, and reinforce your new identity. Successful people, they act, they learn, they adjust from that learning, and they repeat that over and over again. There's a saying, and I'm going to butcher it because it just came to my mind, but the master has simply just failed more times than the novice. Basically, that's what it is. I was speaking a few months ago with somebody who is a very big name in the fitness industry. You probably know who they are, very large. And I said, hey, I'm kind of in this phase of business right now where like I know where I'm headed, but I can't see the outcome, right? I know the impact I want to have on people. I know that I'm doing all the right things, but I can't quite see myself where you're at because there's still a little bit of tunnel there that's not lit that I need to work through. Do you have any advice? And they told me, they said, when I was where you're at, there were so many people around me and a lot of them quit. A lot of them gave up. A lot of them couldn't handle the workload or the uncertainty. And the people who stuck around are just as successful as I am. Most things in life are not a game of who's better. They're a game of who can stick around longer. Because the longer you can stick around, the better you become, and then you become the person that's better. So it's a game of last man standing or last woman standing or whatever, right? Same thing with training. When you have a goal, a hybrid goal, strength, endurance, all of the research shows the people that are generally the best, if you exclude like the genetic freaks that are going to go on to the Olympics and things like this, because genetics is unfortunately a big part of those things. But other than that, for 99% of us, the people that are the best are just the people that do it the longest. And in order to do it the longest, it means you're going to fail more often and you're going to make more mistakes. But nobody cares but you. It's noble and honorable to show up and fail and learn and adjust. Everybody's just thinking about themselves in the gym, on the track. They might think about you for a split second. But more than likely, most people are pretty awesome people. So they're going to see you fail. They're going to be like, oh my God, look at that. He's out here trying. Look at the effort he's putting in. Like, I aspire to have that much effort. I aspire to put that much effort into things. So take action even when you don't have all the information, because you're never going to have all the information. You're going to get so much more information by taking action. A personal example of this is college. My college class that I just finished up, I was talking to another coach I know who's got a PhD, and I was telling her that I appreciate this information so much more because I coach, because I'm getting some of the background, like deep textbook physiology for the reason that I've done things just because I found they worked well. There's certain things in coaching that I've found just work well, or I knew like surface level physiology, but now I get to understand all the nuance below it, and it sticks with me so much more because I'm sitting there and I'm like doing my studying, and I'm like, oh, that is the physiological reason why this happens. That makes so much sense now. And she was telling me it should almost be a requirement to go work in a field for a little bit and then come back to school, just so that you can appreciate it more, because you don't have that appreciation for these topics unless you've lived them. So I just thought that was very interesting. Another example of taking action, actually making the information more meaningful and stick with me more because I have the requisite experience. So you have to stop waiting and trying to learn more and just get started. I know my podcast may be one of many podcasts you have queued up. There's nothing wrong with podcasts. Clearly, I put out a lot of them and the information is good, but you need to take action off the back of learning information. Otherwise, you're going to get nowhere. If you want to start hybrid training, you want to get stronger and faster, you want to make some other change in your life, you need to stop researching now and start doing. And if you're new to hybrid training or you've been doing it for a while but you haven't seen results, the very best way to start taking action right now and know that you're training correctly is to go to the description and join my group coaching program. It's brand new. It's called Forged. Brand new. I'm very excited about it. Again, no pressure. You don't have to, but it's there, and I think it's the best way to take action, and this is why. It went live yesterday. At this point when this comes out, it's going to have gone live yesterday, and it starts on Monday, September 29th. So the intake went live yesterday. It's an 8-week group program, so it's not evergreen. It's not running forever. It's an 8-week group program designed to PR your 5K and your big 3 lifts in 8 weeks, so your squat, bench, and deadlift. There are 2 different training plans to choose from. You have a 4-day and a 6-day per week option, and you get instructions on how to modify those based on the equipment that you have in your schedule. You also do, and this is the really powerful part of this program that makes it so different from any other group coaching program that I know of in the hybrid space and in most spaces, you do weekly check-ins with me where I will respond to your messages or your questions. So the weekly check-ins, they're asynchronous, which means you fill out a form for me. You don't have to like sit down on a Zoom call every week. That's unreasonable for your schedule. But you do a weekly check-in with me, and I can help you customize things to you. So I can help you individualize the group plans to you, answer any of your questions, provide you support and accountability from the previous week. And in this way, you get a level of customization that I've not seen in any other group coaching programs in the hybrid space yet. And you get amazing results because of it. It's not quite as customized as one-to-one. I put out the training plans and then work with you to adjust it afterwards if needed. Whereas one-to-one, I obviously create the plan specifically for the person. But this is going to be literally the most customization you can get for this price, and in a group program especially. So the total price is going to be $247 for 8 weeks. But if you joined my priority list and you've already been on that, those people did get access to the first spaces. The first 20 spaces that sign up are going to receive a discount and get it for just $197. So if you're listening to this, it went live yesterday. If you want to try to get one of those first spaces, you should stop right now and go click the link, because it's first come, first serve. And if the 20 spaces haven't filled up yet, you have an option to do that. If not, then it's $247. There's also going to be some cash prizes. I'm recording this a few weeks before it releases, so I'm still putting the final touches on what those cash prizes are going to be, but at least one person is going to receive their entire payment back at the end of the program. So you have the option of literally getting this for free because of that prize. There are going to be some other cash prizes as well, so some other people, undecided how many at this point, but some other people will be getting cash up to potentially their entire payment as well. Again, I'm still finishing the details, so I don't want to make promises that I then change, but at least one person is going to be getting their entire investment back. So literally, you're going to get 8 weeks of really high quality coaching and programming for free. if you're that person. You really don't want to miss this. It's literally so exciting. This is my first launch of Forge, so it's going to be 8 weeks. I will launch this again sometime in the future, probably next year. It will be next year at this point, but when in the year, undecided. You really don't want to miss this though, because I've put so much work into this. Very excited. You're going to get such good results. I'm so excited for this because I truly believe it's going to be the best group coaching program on the market right now for hybrid training because of the level of customization I'm able to provide. That's actually why it's capped at 8 weeks, because I cannot deliver this much value to this many people forever. I can do sprints of this. And then I obviously have my one-on-one clients still. One-on-one clients, obviously they pay me more, and I build that in so I'm able to give them way more value than this even. But I wanted to give you guys a lot of value, and so 8 weeks was as much as I could make work for my schedule to provide you that value and get you good results. Obviously, less than 8 weeks wouldn't be enough time. More than 8 weeks, I just cannot deliver. There's so much value in this. I'm trying to really emphasize how much value you're going to get. Click the link below to the sales page at this point. So previous podcasts would have been to the priority list page. Click the link below to the sales page. It's rather long, rather verbose. You can get all the information you'd ever want on it. See some of the social proof. You'll see some of the frequently asked questions at the end. There's many points throughout the page where you can sign up. If you are one of the first 20 people, you're going to get that discount. So keep that in mind. You really don't want to miss this. I'm very excited. I hope to see you in there. If not, yeah, I don't know. I hope to see you in there. Very, very excited. In closing this podcast, though, and really wrapping up the information we talked about, the thing I really want you to remember is that information doesn't change your life. Taking action does. This is your chance to act right now. This could be a fork in the road in your life, in your training. I'm calling this out. I'm calling you out. I'm challenging you. This is your chance to make that change in your life and never be the same person you were before, because this can be the day you start taking aggressive action and not just collecting information. This is the day you can become a different person. This is that moment. Whether it's Forged, I hope it is, because I'm going to provide you such amazing fucking results in Forged. Excuse my language, but I am. Or it's something else. If Forged isn't for you and you are sitting here thinking, okay, it's not for me, so I guess I don't have action to take. Wrong. What action could you take right now, even a small action, today, to start moving towards that different life? That thing that popped in your head, I want you to either do it right now, pause this podcast and do it, and then come back for the rest of the outro, or pause the podcast right now, put a reminder on your phone, put a calendar event, make sure there's notifications on that, because you need to start becoming somebody who takes action. If you already are somebody who takes action, I hope this podcast has reinforced your decision to take action. I hope that it's made you a more action-oriented person than you already were, because it really is the difference in everything, right? Everybody has good intentions. If you go to the store, you go out and about, you're going to see so many people with good intentions and big desires that will die never having done them. The graveyard is full of never realized dreams. The only way to realize those is to take action on them. I literally cannot emphasize this enough. So take action. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. As soon as it ends, do not start the next podcast, the next music, the next whatever. Do something to change your life today. Become a person of action. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I love this topic. I will see you in the next episode of the Assemble Performance Podcast.